So now these are the ugliest of the questions in terms of the amount of thinking you have to do. It says, what transformations would be used to map ABC onto A prime, B prime, C prime? Whenever you see the word composition, it's almost always more than one. Now, if you can somehow do it in one, great. But it's unlikely that you can do it in one, okay? So they're going to probably have two different things. A lot of times they're going to have some sort of reflection and some sort of translation. Usually the reflections are pretty obvious, all right, because usually it's flipped over. Now, if you're not positive about the whole flipping over concept, what you can do is you can give the corners colors and you can see if they are in the same like positions. All right, and clearly here, the green and the blue one have changed spots. Up in this top one up here, the green is at the top. Down in this bottom one, the green is at the bottom. That's flipped upside down. 100% had to flip upside down for the green to go from the top to the bottom. So when that happens, what I've got to kind of do is think to myself, all right, well, what line did it reflect over to have that happen? And there's multiple lines that you can do for this. All right, some of you will get really inventive with this and you'll have it reflect over like x equals 1, things like that. It'll always work with the x and the y axis. It'll just change your second thing that you have to do. All right, so when you're doing these compositions, if there's a reflection, you can almost always do just the x or the y axis and then do a translation or something else afterwards to make it happen. So if it needs to go upside down, it's definitely going to reflect over the x-axis, all right, because it has to get this point here, has to get down here. That's the only way that's happening. So reflection over the x-axis. And then this is the biggest problem that I've seen. Then you got to do that. So you got to do it and see where it went so that you can figure out what to do next. So C doesn't move, it stays right there. A goes 1, 2, 1, 2, and then B goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I can label them if I want. This is C prime, this is A prime, this is B prime. Okay, now that triangle needs to end up over on top of this last triangle. So look and see what happens. C goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. All right, so I'm just going to write it down. Write 5 down 2. Everything else needs to do that. So B goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. A goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So everything's good. So then reflection over x-axis, translation, write 5 down 2. Now that's not easy. That's complicated. All right, but you have to be willing to take some time. All right, and think about what happened in terms of, was there a reflection? Dilations are obvious every time. If there's a dilation, it's obvious. Okay, because one of them is bigger or smaller. The reflection should be equally obvious because it needs to be backwards, either backwards or upside down. And then once you figure that out, you can figure out the line. Okay, I would suggest do the translations last because they're the easiest one to do. And once it's the same, sitting in the same position, you can do the translation easily. All right, so that's my opinion on it. You got to practice these. So go back and try some more before you take the test, before you take the reattempt, to make sure that you're good at these, because this is hard.